Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll get started in just a minute. I know many of you are probably attending from the Admissions Ask Me Anything session, so it's nice to have you all here today. We are going to speak briefly on the liberal arts abroad. There are three of us here today that represent three different liberal arts American University abroad institutions from three different countries. And we'll kind of go in depth into the benefits of a liberal arts education abroad, what makes us similar, what makes us different, and kind of all of that. And then we'll wrap up the session with some student testimonials that we've worked with and what they thought about attending university abroad, especially a liberal arts university abroad. So if you want to go to the next slide, I'll quickly introduce all of us, or we'll all introduce ourselves today. I am Amanda. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions with the American University of Paris. I am one of 6 of our US-based staff, and I am based in Boise, Idaho.
Hello, I am Ciria Triplett with Franklin University, Switzerland. I am an independent college consultant liaison, and my role is specifically to speak with IECs. And then we have 3 US-based admissions reps. I am currently located in Charleston, South Carolina.
And my name is Atheena. I'm an assistant director for the American College of Greece. I am based out of New Jersey. I work with students all about the eastern half of the US, and then I also have a colleague who covers the western half of the US. But we work with all students from interest all the way into them arriving on campus, and we actually end up getting to greet them too. So let's get started. And there is an audience poll. Who has worked with a student that attended an American university abroad?
The responses are coming in. I will end it
Wonderful.
in a brief second. So thank you, everybody. We have 20 responses so far, so this is great.
That's
It's
wonderful.
a mixed bag as well.
I would think that interest at the minimum has been going up. There we go. That's a nice mix. So 42% says have worked with a student that's gone abroad, and then not yet 42%, and then interest. I know we've worked in the past year, 2 years. Interest is growing in it, and our institution alone, we get interest, and they're like, I didn't know about this, or people stop by at booths at fairs. So students are really getting interested in it. So a little bit. So the learning outcomes, benefits of earning a liberal arts degree, the application process, we're going to go into that because it's not like other universities. American universities abroad follow the American system typically, and then also covering the fact that we're not all the same. And please, any questions into the chat, and at the end, we'll try and address some of them. So who we are. So we're American accredited, and there's a little bit of misconception that the American universities abroad are all affiliated with one another. That's something that we get from students often. We are not. So we all follow the same principle. So it's following the American style of education, but putting it in a different country. So we aren't affiliated with one another, but we do have that same goal and same mission, kind of how we structure. We are liberal arts and then international student bodies. So many of our campuses are only American students. You'll find local students, you'll find American students, you'll find students from other countries who want to follow the American style of education, but they're not willing to come all the way to the United States. Now, the percentages of those populations are different. Also, American universities abroad have financial aid and scholarship opportunities. It might not be identical to the way that a school in the US is, but we still do offer some financial aid and scholarship. And travel and study abroad opportunities. This is an odd one because for many students coming from the US, they're already studying abroad, but they can also study abroad again. In some cases, they choose to do a semester in the US, but many times they're going to other countries, right? So they might go to another European country. They might go to an Asian country. As a student, I had friends who went to Japan as part of their study abroad opportunity. Extracurricular activities, clubs, and sports. So we will have activities where students, like an English major, they can go participate in like the dance club, but they also can do a sport, like they can try out for a sport. The difference with us is we're not very sports oriented, the American universities abroad. It won't be like that you find on a US campus. And then the American universities abroad, we aren't the same. And that touches again about population size. We're not affiliated. The accreditations are also different, right? So we're accredited by New England Commission of Higher Education, ACG is, but a lot of the American universities abroad have different accreditations. Again, American education, American credit. The campus size is different, anywhere from 400 to 1,800 students. There's also degree seeking and visiting students. So that's another classification that's important. I even go into this description when I'm working with a student who's already even committed to our college, just to understand that you're going to have students that are going to be from the US. They're there for the 4 years or 2 if they're a transfer student. But then there's also going to be students that are there just for one semester, because a lot of our campuses also host study abroad students. So there's a very, very distinct difference in that, and students should be prepared for it. And then also partnerships. So we have partnerships with colleges in the US, USC, Northeastern, Tulane, Reed, Boston College in our case. So there's different opportunities, again, some to welcome students onto our campus. Also, we get the opportunity to send students to part of those study abroad trips. And then these are the American universities abroad in AIRR-NA. So we have the American College of Thessaloniki, which is another college in Greece, Franklin University, Switzerland, John Cabot University, which is in Italy, the American College of Greece, the American University of Paris in France, and the American University of Rome in Italy again. And those are some of them. We also always, of course, will say we're the best, but there's also other options out there for students in terms of American universities abroad, so it's not just limited to these. And then I am handing it off to what does it mean to be a liberal arts student?
Hi, everyone. So I'll quickly go through this because many of you do know, of course, what the liberal arts are, what it means for students to seek a liberal arts institution, kind of who's a good fit for this sort of institution. So when I speak to students and families, I usually speak to the flexibility in the curriculum, especially from an international lens. Some strict international institutions, even in like France, Switzerland, Greece, European countries, UK, it is a lot more subject driven. They can't take a breadth of subjects. They can't really double major or have a major and a minor. At liberal arts universities, they can take about 1.5 years to declare their major. So a lot of students that maybe have a variety of interests, maybe want to focus more on small hands-on classes, be more discussion-based, kind of have that flexibility and the interdisciplinarity of their curriculum. If you go to the next slide, this also just looks more in depth to the liberal arts, and then the benefits of a liberal arts education. So I'm a product of the liberal arts education myself. I have a lot of friends that have gone on to be doctors, lawyers, have their PhDs in chemistry and things of a variety of nature. So there's just a lot of benefits of it. I could probably speak to it for a very long time, but I will keep it short today. But just basically students that want to think critically, solve complex problems, create a career for themselves instead of kind of fitting themselves into a box. More faculty interaction and mentorship, being able to pursue those multiple internships or interests. So students that might be interested in global affairs, but also maybe have an interest in art history, or students that are interested. I previously worked with a student that now has her PhD in electrical engineering, or actually mechanical engineering. She creates solar cells for farmers. So she double majored in communications and environmental science on an engineering track, and learned how to communicate with farmers, and then also do all the math and science behind creating these solar cells. So students that are just really interested in doing that sort of career path. The next slide quickly shows, of course, kind of some newsline articles and things showing that the role of the liberal arts is, of course, important in tech and any sort of industry. These graduates are enhancing the workplace, becoming CEOs, things like that. But what I really wanted to speak to today is the benefits of a liberal arts education abroad. So the next slide will show that more in depth, specifically our institutions. So not only are these students able to attend university abroad and have access to extensive global alumni networks, access to global internships, networking, things of that nature that are, of course, prevalent to a lot of international universities, but they also have exposure to a diverse array of mindsets, belief systems, ways of thought, both in the classroom and out. Our institutions pride ourselves on being small universities in an international setting with very diverse student bodies. So students are encouraged to have difficult conversations in the classroom, an emphasis on learning to communicate across difference, kind of seeking growth in the uncomfortable. So students are in these classrooms of maybe 15 students, surrounded by students that might be similar to them or students that maybe grew up in an entirely different way than they did and may have different perspectives on things, and kind of challenging our students to think differently about things, consider multiple perspectives, and kind of grow not only as a person and as a student, but also as a professional then going on into their career afterwards. They also have direct mentorship with international faculty. A lot of our class sizes, are 15 to 20 students. They know their faculty well, especially, if students are coming from North America and maybe they're going through some of those growing pains of studying abroad for the first time or adjusting to college. Our faculty tend to be pretty in tune to students' needs and see how they're doing. They're used to our campuses being mostly not, domestic students. So a lot of our AUA campuses are predominantly international students, so students that are all kind of going through that together. So the faculty are very in tune to that as well. And there's also the benefit of our North American students not really having to learn a new education system while navigating a new place. They have the familiarity of the American education system. They have the familiarity of the liberal arts and the discussion-based classes and the year and a half to decide what they want to study if they don't know, or to dive right in. So they don't have to worry about things being predominantly exam-based or lecture style, or things that may come with more of the strict international institutions. And then there's also the opportunities Atheena kind of alluded to as well, for academic travel and on-site classes. So our institutions really pride ourselves on being where they're located and taking advantage of that. So not only will some classes take what I call field trips to on-site, museums and art galleries and painting along a river, what have you, kind of taking advantage of the location, but a lot of our institutions also offer academic travel. So being based in Europe, kind of having the world at your doorstep, having travel be very affordable for our students to go different places on the weekends or with classes. Our institutions really pride ourselves on the ability to give that opportunity to students that want to travel and experience things hands-on, instead of having to just talk about it all day in a class and not actually experience it for themselves. And then lastly, some skills and characteristics gained from a global education. I always emphasize when I'm working with students and families to the soft skills. So not only are they going to learn in the classroom, not only are they going to learn from their faculty and their peers, from the city around them, just from the international nature of being in Europe, but they also just gain skills that are applicable to any workforce, any graduate school, any postgraduate career. So that intercultural competence, the critical thinking skills, the ability for students to think on their feet, to navigate difference, as I mentioned, creative thinking. They can speak, so oral and written communication skills, regularly giving presentations or having to defend their way of thought, having to navigate, maybe different perspectives on the thing that they believe in. Problem solving, adaptability is huge, of course. Research skills, independence and self-confidence, just seeing students that come to our institutions, within 8 months of being there and seeing how much they grow as a person, because they gain a lot of self-confidence from having to navigate that diverse and international experience. And then also networking, and then world language proficiency. All of our institutions here today are not based in English-speaking countries. Our classes, of course, are taught in English, but they will become proficient and oftentimes fluent in the language around them as well, which is a great skill to have.
All right, so now we're going to move into the application process. So on this next slide, you're going to see we're kind of comparing the AUAs to UK's. UK admissions is a little more by the steps, cut and dry, going through their little process. But when you're applying to an AUA, we are looking at more of the holistic student, right? We're taking a more holistic approach when we're doing this, or looking at your students. So we want to see is this going to be a right fit for our institution? Are you helping to shape our class? Are you demonstrating interest in traveling, academic travel, doing more things with it? Your recommendations, some of us may require you to submit letters of recommendation. Some of them may not. We may have early action decision, or early application. There may be I know for us particularly, we have a rolling application. So there's different ways that each one of us kind of approach the application process. So just really want to make sure that you connect with your admission rep to see what the best way is for your student when applying to each one of our institutions, because they all are going to differ just a little bit, right? So again, another thing, we may be test optional, we may require a test. So just really making sure you take a look at the process and what it is that each one of us are requiring. All right, next slide. When you are doing the application, there is a couple different ways that you can do it. Direct application, going to our specific websites, taking a look at, again, what it is that we are requiring for our specific institutions, or you can do it through the Common App. Right, two different ways that you can get your application into these American University Abroad. This is a little side note, some of us may be connected into slate.org. That is another way to kind of keep track of your students' applications as they are going through this process. So just something to kind of consider when you are filling out these applications. So again, direct application or on the Common App. When you're looking, again, this was mentioned earlier about FAFSA. We are FAFSA eligible. So we strongly encourage, I know that all of us strongly encourage all of our students to apply for the FAFSA. So you can get those loans in order to bring them over to us. Now, we may not be grant eligible because that's more for the US-based schools, but applying for the FAFSA lets us know what your student aid index is, and you may be eligible for more scholarships on campus. And again, it varies by institution, so just definitely something to look into. Merit scholarships. Different ways that you can get scholarships on campus based on your academics. You may have to apply for them separately, or you automatically apply based on the application that you turned in. Again, look at your institution, talk to your admissions rep, figure out what the process is specifically for your school that you're applying to. VA benefits, GI Bill, some of us are yellow ribbon schools, and then IB scholarships, as it shows, AUP has up to 100% of its tuition based on the IB scholarship specific to that university, right? So make sure I would strongly recommend if your financial aid officer has a meet with me kind of type event on their calendar, to go ahead and meet with that person, or encourage your student to meet with that person, so they have a really good idea of, these are ways that I can help pay for my education abroad, and there are no big surprises before they step on campus. So next slide. Credit transfer. Since we are AUAs, we are American accredited institutions, so we do accept AP, IB, and dual enrollment credits. So that makes for a lot more seamless credits transfer when you're going from a high school student, or if you have those dual credit enrollments and you're transferring over, the credits transfer a lot more easier. So make sure you look into that. Again, some resources for you, just because this is, what we talked about earlier. Transferology is a great one if you do have that student that is maybe for the IECs that have those students that are out of the high school area, and you want to check some of their credits to see if they're able to transfer over. You can put your credits into there. They can check with our universities to see how well they transfer. Verdo Education is another one that is a great resource. I know Franklin and AUR are both partnered with Verdo for that direct transfer program, so definitely something to look into. And then, of course, we had a transfer credit information session earlier in the summit. That would also be a great thing for you to reference later on. So when you do start getting your students into this point, they can kind of see the process and how easy it really can be to transfer these credits into our university, and also to transfer them back out if they choose to go back to someplace else afterwards.
I am muted, sorry about that. So we also have included some student testimonials, and we'll share them on the screen. You can reference them when you're working with students or schools, in terms of, and families, on what it means, and these are some of those success stories. We won't go through all of them, but I will say that I am one of the first ones. So I was a student who graduated from the institution that I worked for. I was able to do this. So I was able to have breakfast for someone in Sweden, lunch with someone else from a different area, and that international experience is something that couldn't be replaced. I was able to go to Norway with a school field trip for an academic travel. So again, it's something that's able to offer a lot to students. I'm going to go to the next ones, but I know Amanda also has an example of a really nice example of a student and what they were able to experience.
Yeah, so if any of you attended the student panel on Tuesday, I believe it was, the second testimony that we had, Ruby, she was on the student panel. So she's incredible. I definitely recommend checking that out because she speaks really highly about her experiences at an American university abroad. And also, while I share this student story, I would like to encourage everybody to submit any questions that they have in the Q&A that we can, of course, answer about American universities abroad, about our institutions themselves, or about, the other universities that are in AIRR-NA as well. But one of my, so a former student of mine from about 2 years ago, I'm always asked to share the story because it just is really exciting to hear it from a student in his first year at university, and he actually came from St. Louis, Missouri. He had never left the US prior to attending our institution. So coming to AUP and coming to France was his first time outside of the US. So that in itself, of course, is just a remarkable thing for that student. He was a football recruit that got injured in a game and then had to kind of rethink his college search process because he was no longer able to play in college. So he became really interested in the government and decided, you know what, this is my time to experience something different. So he came to our institution and he just kind of was a go-getter. So he was introducing himself to students in his hallway from the minute he got on campus and everything like that. But about 6 months into his first year with us, I had a call with him, and he had just returned from Portugal for the weekend, and he was just beaming, and he was telling me that he, having never left the country, the US before, in his first 6 months at our institution, he had been to 21 different countries. A lot of that was academic travel with professors, and then just being able to travel on the weekends. And that was remarkable in itself. But then he was speaking about how a bunch of his football buddies that he grew up with came and visited him from Missouri. And he realized in that moment, when they were traveling together through Europe, that how different they had become in their 6 months of university. So his friends were going to big state schools and kind of rolling out of bed and walking across campus quad and just being comfortable and having a great experience for themselves. But he realized that he's glad that he didn't have that experience because he could think on his feet, he can navigate public transportation, he can navigate conflict. They kind of just didn't know what to do and kind of panicked when, the train wasn't working or things like that happened. So he was telling me, he's like, Amanda, I did not realize how much I had grown until I had seen my friends that I'd spent my entire life with. So just to hear that from a student in 6 months and then to think about how that might even grow after another 3 years is really remarkable. So lots to be said about our institutions and just the beauty of an international education. The first question we did receive is what percentage of students are full-time degree seeking versus short-term study abroad students on your campuses, and how does this impact the student experience and community? I'll quickly speak to this and then I can pass it off to my colleagues. This is going to vary by the vary by the institution. So some of us are predominantly degree seeking students. Some of us are definitely more study abroad heavy. AUP specifically is 75% degree seeking students, 25% study abroad or through partnerships with USCGW, Tulane, and Reed. So we are mostly students that are coming to us for the full 4 years, which is great. But I know some of the institutions can vary in that way. And I definitely encourage you to reach out to the representative in North America to inquire about that, because I know we have had some transfer students that speak to not realizing a lot of the students are going to be changing every semester. So it depends on what that student is looking for in their experience.
Similar just in terms of our population, it also changes based off of where the students are coming from. So for North American students, US students, that are joining our campus, it's majority are study abroad students. So our fall intake might be around 50 to 70, it changes every year, of degree seeking, but we might get about 250 study abroad students. But when you put that in the whole population, including other international students and Greek local students, the population statistic changes, and so we're sitting at about 70% are degree seeking students. So there are opportunities to connect with other US students for the degree seeking experience, but also with Greek locals as well. So that changes a little bit. Another question that we received is, what are housing situations at various institutions, either for first years or continuing? And is it dormitories, university-owned apartments, etc.? Very different for all of us. I will start off for ACG. We do have residence buildings, so that means all of the students in the building are ACG students. Then we have also some university-owned apartments. Again, only ACG students in those. We have a housing requirement at ACG. Not all schools have that. We have it just for a single semester for all our international students. For us, it's apartment style housing though. And I think for the majority, I want to say, of AIRR-NA members, it's apartment style housing. So it means they might share a bedroom, but it'll be one apartment. So they might be sharing a bedroom, they might have their own bedroom, but they'll have a kitchen and a bathroom. Again, it does vary on institution, so always check with the representative and students. That's a common question we actually get from students when we're working with them, but that's about ACG. I don't know for Franklin and AUP.
I would say at large, most American university abroads provide housing for our students in terms of international universities too, especially for the first year students. Providing housing is kind of a requirement for a lot of our institutions.
Yeah, I would agree. For Franklin, we have 4-year guaranteed housing. So the majority of our students live on campus. About 90% of our students are on campus. So.
And then,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, and about the housing situation, it's often that students will stay for degree seeking students for the first year for us, and then they'll get more comfortable exploring out. Generally, for the first year or two, they do prefer to stay in housing. And then, are there differences in procuring visas for AUAs versus those for higher ed sites in the country? Compared to our university versus a university of the country that might be public, if I'm understanding?
Yeah, I would say that is, yeah. So I would say in general, us American University Broads are a lot more hands-on than a true in-country international university. At AUP specifically, we work with students throughout the entire visa process. So that's pretty much our whole summer. We provide all the information they need for the visa application. We have videos walking them through every single question on the application, every corresponding answer, providing guidance on when they should be signing up for their in-person visa appointment, pretty much everything. So I think in general, American universities abroad are a lot more hands-on with making sure students arrive on campus okay and have everything done, where a true, in-country international university is very hands-off. And I know some countries actually say the representatives are not allowed to speak to the visa process or offer any guidance in that way too. So in general, at American University Abroad, they are typically going to have a little bit more support navigating that than you might see in other areas.
And the only note I would say for the visa process for students is that students sometimes don't understand, because sometimes AUAs will give that much attention to a student that they sort of think that we control the process. And so that's a little bit about where we kind of have to remind them that this is like a government issue. So it means more seriousness when it comes to visas, but we also won't be the one that the deciding factor. We'll give you all of the resources, but you're going to have to put that step forward with the consulates and the necessary offices. Just that to remind your students about the visas. It's something that I've encountered. We can help as much as we can, but we aren't the government. So I haven't really had any students that struggled with that. So yeah.
I don't know, real quick too, before we wrap up, I know the one question was asking about on our campuses specifically. Ciria, do you mind touching on like the degree seeking and study abroad student population at Franklin? Because I know it's like we're all different institutions in that way in terms of our student body size too. So that might be good for students that are looking for an experience at Franklin as well.
Yeah, no, I think we're about, 50% of our students come from the US, sorry, degree seeking. We're probably close to about 80% of our students are degree seeking. So it's pretty high. We do have a lot of study abroad students or partnership universities that we work with, different ways that they can get on campus if they aren't necessarily going to be degree seeking. So lots of partnership opportunities if they want to come for the semester or for the year as well. But we do have quite a few degree seeking students.
Yes, and I think I remember with Franklin that they also offered like sort of like a dual degree, or one degree with one institution and then a degree in the other.
Yeah,
really
so one of the big ones that we do have is with Emerson University. So we have a 2+2 program with them, and then we also have a 3+1. So you go to us for 2 years and then can transfer to Emerson for 2 years to finish out, or you come to us for 3 years, finish that degree, and then transfer to Emerson for your master's in 1. So yes, we do. Like I said, there's a lot of different opportunities at Franklin, different types of partnerships that we have. So if you need a list of them, you can email me or reach out and I can definitely send that to you, because we do have so many in different parts of the US that kind of give students that opportunity to try and experience something new. So.
Wonderful. So I think we actually have to close up now for the session, but always feel free to reach out to AIRR-NA as an association, or us individually. We're always happy to give information, both about our institutions and each other. So thank you all for very much for joining.